Ngozi stood alone in the cold, white hospital corridor. The sharp smell of antiseptic mixed with her bitter tears as she stared at the lifeless forms of her parents. In that silent, heart-wrenching moment, everything she had known had crumbled into dust. Welcome to my channel. Every story has a beginning, a twist, and an ending you'll never see coming. Stick around and let's explore the unexpected together. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss a moment. Now, let's get into it. In the busy heart of Lagos, Nigeria, Ngozi was born into a life of struggle and hope. Her father, Ikechukwu, worked as a security guard at a bustling supermarket, while her mother, Chioma, served as a maid in the grand mansion of Chief Tola Adebola. Even though their home was small and life was hard, Ngozi's parents always filled their modest apartment with love and the gentle hum of prayers. Every morning, Chioma would prepare a simple meal of pap and akara for Ngozi before rushing off to work, and Ikechukwu would leave early to patrol the busy streets near the supermarket. Ngozi was a bright and kind girl. She helped her mother whenever she could, tidying the small quarters behind the mansion where they lived as part of the staff's accommodation. Even as a child, Ngozi dreamed of a better future, one where she would study hard, rise above poverty, and care for her family with dignity. One warm afternoon, while dusting the living room in the grand mansion, Ngozi heard a gentle voice ask, "Are you new here?" She turned to see a young man with a bright smile and calm eyes standing by the door. "My name is Emeka," he said kindly. "I see you are busy. May I help in any way?" Ngozi replied politely, "I am not new, sir. I am Chioma's daughter. My mother is unwell today, so I am doing extra work." Emeka laughed softly. "Please, call me Emeka, and I hope your mother feels better soon." His warm concern made Ngozi's heart skip a beat. Over the next few days, Emeka found reasons to be near Ngozi, asking for help with little tasks or simply chatting in the quiet corners of the mansion. Emeka was the only child of Chief Tola Adebola and his stern wife, Bola Adebola. Born and raised in Lagos and educated abroad, he was expected to inherit his father's vast empire. But behind the polished exterior, Emeka felt lonely and misunderstood. Ngozi's gentle kindness and earnest smile gave him a glimpse of a life filled with real love and honesty. Before long, the secret meetings between Ngozi and Emeka turned into whispered promises and hidden smiles. In quiet moments, away from the watchful eyes of the mansion staff, they discovered a connection that felt both dangerous and beautiful. As weeks turned to months, their bond deepened. Emeka would bring small gifts, a bottle of chilled malt, a small bouquet of fresh flowers, and Ngozi would share her modest dreams of one day becoming a lawyer to help people in need. Their words were soft, their meetings brief, but each encounter lit a spark of hope for both of them. One evening, when the mansion was quiet and the city's neon lights glowed outside, Emeka whispered, "Ngozi, I know I'm meant to follow my family's path, but I can't stop thinking about you." Ngozi's heart trembled with both joy and fear. "Emeka, we come from two very different worlds. My life is simple, and my family has little. How can we be together?" But love, once kindled, has a way of growing despite the odds. In a moment of passion and tenderness, they crossed a line that neither had fully planned for. Soon, Ngozi discovered that she was pregnant, a secret that would soon shatter the fragile world she had built. News of their secret relationship did not take long to reach the ears of Emeka's family. Bola Adebla, known for her strict ways and unwavering belief in the legacy of the Adebla name, was furious. One bitter afternoon, she stormed into the quarters where Ngozi and her family lived. "Get out of this house, you lowly thing," Bola shouted. "How dare you sully our family name? You seduced my son, and now you dare bring shame upon us with this pregnancy. Leave and never come back." In that crushing moment, Ngozi's life was torn apart. With tears streaming down her face, she clutched the small bundle of belongings that her family had managed to keep. Their home, the only place they had ever known, was no longer safe. They were forced to leave the mansion and wander the unforgiving streets of Lagos, searching for a new place to call home. Days turned into difficult weeks. The once proud family, now stripped of their home and security, found refuge in a cramped one-room apartment in a crowded neighborhood on the edge of the city. The new life was harsh. Kioma started a small kiosk on the busy street corner, selling sachet water and small snacks, while Ikechukwu took any odd job he could find. Their savings dwindled as they struggled to feed themselves and care for Ngozi, who now had a secret growing inside her. But hardship was not the worst fate that awaited them. In the midst of constant struggle, a terrible accident changed everything. One rainy afternoon, while Ikechukwu was working at a construction site on behalf of a local contractor, he slipped on a slick step and fell hard, hitting his head on the concrete. Within minutes, the hospital became a place of frantic whispers and sorrowful eyes. Despite the doctor's best efforts, Ikechukwu lost too much blood. That very day, he passed away. The shock of his death hit the family like a sudden storm. Kioma, already worn down by life's struggles, was unable to bear the grief. Not long after, the heartache proved too heavy. She suffered a fatal heart attack in the same hospital. In a matter of hours, Ngozi was left alone in a world that seemed determined to break her spirit. Amidst the chaos of mourning, Ngozi sat in the cold hospital corridor, her cries echoing among strangers. As she wept, a soft voice approached her. "I'm sorry for your loss," said a man in his early 40s with kind eyes. His name was Segun, a lawyer who was visiting a friend as a patient. He had lost his own parents long ago and recognized the deep pain in Ngozi's eyes. "Please, sit down," Segun said gently. "I know there is little I can say to ease your sorrow, but you are not alone." Segun helped Ngozi gather herself. He arranged for the respectful burial of her parents and even lent her some money to cover immediate expenses. In that moment, a seed of hope was planted in Ngozi's broken heart. Segun's kindness made her believe that perhaps life could still offer a future where she would no longer be defined by tragedy. In the weeks that followed, Ngozi slowly began to pick up the pieces of her shattered life. With Segun's help, she moved into a modest apartment in a safer part of Lagos. Though the scars of her past were deep, she resolved to build a better future for herself and her unborn child. Segun, impressed by her quiet strength and intelligence, offered Ngozi a job at his law firm as a paralegal assistant. "You have a sharp mind, Ngozi," he said one afternoon as they discussed her work schedule. "I want to help you learn the law. In time, you might be able to study further and make a real difference." At first, Ngozi hesitated. "But sir, I am just a maid's daughter. I hardly have a school certificate," she replied softly, her eyes filled with uncertainty. Segun smiled. "Your past does not determine your future. I believe in you. Let this be the first step to a new life." Encouraged by Segun's unwavering support, Ngozi accepted the offer. Every day, between work and studying for evening classes, she dedicated herself to learning. She recalled the promise she had once made to herself as a child, to rise above her circumstances and secure a better life for her family. Now, that promise burned brighter than ever. Meanwhile, Emeka's life took a darker turn. Under the relentless pressure of his powerful parents, he was forced to break off his relationship with Ngozi. Bola Adebla, determined to protect the family's reputation, arranged a marriage between Emeka and a woman from another wealthy family, Sola. The marriage was cold and empty, a union built on duty rather than love. One fateful night, after a heavy session at a Lagos club, Emeka got behind the wheel while under the influence. His recklessness led to a terrible car accident. Waking up in the hospital in a wheelchair, Emeka learned that his injuries were severe. The doctors told him that his spinal cord had been badly damaged and that he might never walk or father a child again. The once charming young man was now a shell of his former self, haunted by regret and trapped by the choices made for him. Bola Adebola, desperate to secure the family legacy, soon devised a new plan. She began to dig into the past, determined to claim custody of the child that Emeka had once secretly fathered with Ngozi. According to her, that child, whom she claimed was the only hope to continue the Adebola name, was her grandchild. With investigators and lawyers at her disposal, she set her sights on finding and taking the child away from Ngozi. Years passed. Ngozi's life at Segun's law firm slowly improved her outlook. Her dedication and hard work not only earned her respect among colleagues, but also allowed her to save enough money for evening classes. Her baby boy, whom she had named Ikenna, grew into a cheerful child with bright, curious eyes. Every laugh and every small milestone of Ikenna reminded Ngozi that even in hardship, hope could bloom. One day, as Ngozi and Segun sat in their newly furnished living room discussing plans for Ikenna's future, a firm knock at the door startled them. When Segun opened it, standing there was a well-dressed woman with a cold, hard gaze. It was Bola Adebola. "Good afternoon," Bola said, her tone formal and heavy with authority. "I have come to speak with you about a matter of great importance." Ngozi, who had been quietly watching, felt her heart race. Bola continued, "I have come to claim custody of my grandchild. I know of the child you bear, and it is time to honor the family name." Segun's voice was steady as he replied, "Madam, there is no grandchild here from your son. Ikenna is my stepson in spirit and legally belongs with Ngozi and me. If you insist, we are prepared to take this matter to court." Bola's eyes narrowed. "You leave me no choice," she snapped, before turning on her heel and leaving the house. The following weeks were filled with tense court sessions. Bola Adebola, with her expensive team of lawyers, argued that the child was the rightful heir to the Adebola legacy. But Segun, with his deep understanding of the law and a strong moral center, defended Ngozi with quiet determination. He presented evidence of the hardship that Ngozi had endured, the sacrifices she had made, and her unwavering commitment to raising Ikenna in a loving home. After long and heated debates in the courtroom, the judge finally ruled in favor of Ngozi and Segun Tor. Custody must be awarded to the party who can provide a stable, loving home for the child, the judge declared. It is clear that Ngozi, with the support of Mr. Segun, is best suited for this task. Bola Adebola was forced to accept the ruling. With her dreams of reclaiming the legacy shattered, she left the courtroom in silence, defeated and alone. In the aftermath of the courtroom victory, peace slowly returned to Ngozi's life. The legal battle had not only secured Ikena's future, but also proved to Ngozi that she could rise above the chains of her past. Segun's support had been constant throughout, and over time, their relationship deepened. One quiet evening, as they sat together watching the sunset over Lagos, Segun took Ngozi's hand. "I have watched you grow from a broken, lost girl into a strong, determined woman," he said softly. "I have come to love you, Ngozi, not out of pity, but out of admiration for your spirit. Will you marry me?" Ngozi's eyes filled with tears, tears of both sorrow for the past and joy for the future. "Yes, Segun," she replied, her voice steady with hope. "I want to build a life with you, a life where my past does not define me." Their wedding was a simple yet heartfelt celebration among close friends and a few loyal colleagues from the law firm. In a ceremony that blended modern touches with traditional Nigerian customs, they exchanged vows and promised to support each other through every trial that life might bring. Inspired by Segun's encouragement, Ngozi decided to follow her long-held dream. That very year, she enrolled for the JMB examination. With long nights of study and the memory of all she had lost and overcome, Ngozi excelled in her exams and secured admission into a reputable university to study law. It was the first step towards a future where she could stand on equal ground with those who once looked down on her. Meanwhile, Emeka struggled in his own way. Isolated in his hospital bed and trapped in a loveless marriage with Sola, he was forced to face the consequences of his choices. The accident had taken away his physical abilities and his chance at fatherhood. Alone with his regrets, Emeka realized that the world he had built on duty and wealth was empty. Late at night, he would stare out of his window at the bright Lagos lights, wishing he could turn back time and choose love over legacy. Years later, Ngozi's transformation was complete. Now a young lawyer, she stood in a modest courtroom defending the rights of the less privileged. Her journey from a maid's daughter to a confident legal advocate inspired many who heard her story. Ikena, now a joyful 5-year-old with an infectious laugh, played in the yard of their small but comfortable apartment, a symbol of the new life they had built together. Segun and Ngozi often recalled the painful days that had almost broken them. In one quiet moment, as they shared a simple meal of jollof rice and fried plantains, Segun said, "The best revenge against those who hurt you is to become a better version of yourself." Ngozi smiled, knowing that every hardship she had endured had led her to this moment of strength and happiness. In time, the news of the court ruling spread. Bola Adebola's attempts to reclaim her so-called grandchild became a cautionary tale of greed and misplaced pride. Her family's empire, once built on rigid tradition and power, began to show cracks as the world around them changed. Meanwhile, Emeka remained a shadow of his former self, haunted by regret and isolated by the choices he had made. For Ngozi, the lesson was clear. Her past, painful as it was, had forged the courage to overcome adversity. By listening to her inner voice and never giving up on her dreams, she had turned tragedy into triumph. Every obstacle had been a stepping stone, guiding her to a future where love, justice, and hope reigned. On a bright morning, as the Lagos sun rose over the city, Ngozi walked out of the courthouse with Segun by her side. Ikena skipped along happily, and for the first time in many years, Ngozi felt complete. The scars of her past would remain, but they no longer defined her. Instead, They served as a reminder that even in the face of unbearable loss, the human spirit can rise, rebuild, and find joy again. Ngozi's journey became a source of inspiration in the community. Young girls who once heard whispers about her tragic past now looked up to her as a beacon of hope. In schools, community centers, and even in small family gatherings, people would say, "Remember Ngozi's story. It shows that with strength, determination, and a kind heart, you can overcome any obstacle." Emeka's life, too, became a lesson in regret. Though he never found the happiness he once briefly tasted, his story served as a warning to those who might sacrifice love for duty or pride for wealth. The once powerful Adebola family slowly learned that legacy built on fear and coercion could crumble in the face of compassion and truth. For Ngozi, every day was a new beginning. With Segun at her side, she continued to study, work, and fight for justice in a world that had once tried to keep her down. And as Ekene grew older, his laughter echoed as a testament to the power of hope and the strength of the human heart. In the end, Ngozi proved that no matter how dark the night, the dawn would always come, and with it, the promise of a brighter future. The story of Ngozi and her journey from despair to empowerment reminds us that our beginnings do not dictate our endings. Through hardship, loss, and heartbreak, she found a way to transform her pain into strength. By building a life on hope, justice, and love, Ngozi showed that the best way to seek revenge against a cruel fate is to rise above it and create something beautiful. This is the true triumph of the human spirit in modern Nigeria, a story of resilience, redemption, and the power of choosing a better path. Share your thoughts about this story in the comments section, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more exciting stories from the heart of Africa.